Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. I'm one half of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, Machel St. Patrick here, and with me, as ever, is Santokie Nagilendran. Santokie, how you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, Just got some breaking news, Mash, West Indies are back, baby. West Indies are back. 2-0 up against India. Listen, the song at the beginning of this podcast, no lies, we rule the cricket world, West Indies, the glory days are back, Machel. How's it feeling, man?
A couple people out there might owe Darren Sammy an apology, A couple, just a couple people still might owe Darren Sammy some kind of apology. Yeah, ODI cricket, World Cup qualifiers, etc., etc. And actually, let's start there on a realistic one, Santokie. We always said, and our receipts are in all of the videos we did prior to the World Cup qualifiers, we always said whoever takes over the West Indies white ball team is on a hide into nothing going into the World Cup qualifiers. There's barely any preparation time. They're taking over a team that tends to lose. It's a high pressurized situations. Other teams have got a better winner's mentality. Would it be fair to say that the team has got better as Sammy has had more time to work with them? Other people are going to say, oh, you two are just saying that because we've just had a few good results. But it's got to, let's call it fair. Would this India side beat the teams we played in the World Cup qualifiers more than, obviously it's ODI cricket, but do you know what I mean? Like, would it be fair to say that Darren Sammy should be given some slack here?
Yeah, I think there's two ways of looking at it, Mash. I think in ODI cricket, we were in such a rut going, 2015 to 2019 without winning an ODI series. We were in such a rut to kind of reverse that decline within a matter of months, which Sammy was tasked to do, was an impossible job. We've got that on record. We've said it for the past year or so. Whoever came in for the World Cup qualifiers had the impossible job. And I think the second way of looking at it, Mash, is Sammy, obviously, he played all formats. He was a decent player in tests and ODIs, but he stood out as a GOAT in T20 cricket for more his leadership and tactical value. So it sort of makes sense that T20 cricket is where his impact is being more evidently seen. And I just feel, whereas the ODI cricket has we've carried on with the slump, T20 cricket, as Supernova 22 said, I just feel under Rovman and Darren Sammy, compared to where we were last year with the World Cup and just how abysmal the team was, especially since it's predominantly the same team, same players being chosen, the team just looks refreshed, a lot more confident, and it's promising that players, who played ODI cricket and the T20 cricket, so a Rovman, a Puran, they're managing to show confidence in T20 format, because it would be easy to lose confidence in both formats. So obviously Sammy has had an impact specifically on T20 cricket and our performances. And this is probably short term is more important for us because there is a home World Cup coming up. So all the signs are looking good. Obviously, we're not going to get carried away with these India performances. It's good, but we need to build on that consistently leading up to the home World Cup next year, Mash.
Karis says this isn't about Sammy, it's about Puran, period. Sammy was arguing after the game with 13th man Odean Smith. Yeah, I saw that. Someone showed me the clip of Odean and Sammy having a passer. But Karis, it's not about Puran, because when Puran was captain, weren't we just taking L's? Didn't Puran captain us to the T20 World Cup in Australia? Didn't we take L's in Australia? So respectfully, yes, Puran got a 67, so I get what your point is, but it certainly ain't about Puran only, for sure. You lot don't want to give Sammy his shine. You were happy to say it's all Sammy's fault when we were losing in the World Cup, but now nobody don't World Cup qualifiers. But now nobody don't want to give him his shine. Surely it's got to work in roundabouts, people. You can't just try and make results fit your narrative. Come on. We kind of got to look at the evidence here. And actually, normally, Santokie, what we do is we go through like the scorecard and pick out various different talking points. But just building off your point about Sammy, one person who seems to have benefited quite significantly is Romario Shepherd.
Yeah, Romario Shepherd, we've talked about him inconsistent. So far, the 2 games against India, he's been disciplined. Obviously, today was unfortunate to get run out before he even faced the ball, but with the ball, very consistent match. And this is what we've always cussed out Romario. Similar to Hetmyer, just not to the same extent. We've cussed out Romario mainly from a place of knowing his potential and what he could be capable of. It's just that inconsistency. He's starting to show some consistency, but as I've said with the West Indies team, it needs to be over a longer period of time. But the early signs are promising.
Most definitely. So let's go to the India innings.
I didn't even see the Odean Smith clip, Argue with a Jamaican on Independence Day,
Yeah. Maybe Sammy said bun Jamaica. I don't know, but basically, they're just at the end, as the players are all shaking hands when they go down the line and stuff, the camera's panning in on Puran. And then as Puran turned at the end of the line, the camera did a wide pan. And Sammy and Odean, Sammy looked like he was almost jabbing Odean in his chest. And it's certainly some strong words are being had. There was a lot of gesticulation, and I can't lip read, but it certainly wasn't a friendly conversation, put it that way. But it was just probably, in sports, people have friendly disagreements. Yeah. Sometimes you have to grip up a next man, put him in a headlock, and so on and so forth. So, you do that and then we move on.
Was it Super 50 when Pollard pushed Hetmyer when they were shaking hands?
Yeah. I think did Hetmyer go for a handshake and Pollard pushed him away?
Pollard pushed him.
But I'll send you the video because in the Discord group, the video was sent to me. So I'll download it and send the video to you so you can. I should have uploaded it. Maybe if I've got time, I'll try and upload it during this live so people can see it. But anyways, so India won the toss and chose to bat, and they made 152 for 7. And it was a weird innings for India because it was an innings that never really got going at any particular point in time. Some will say, okay, they added some late runs in the final over, but West Indies on the whole, and I mean, obviously I'm intrigued to see what people say in the comments, but West Indies on the whole were relatively disciplined with the ball. Wickets just fell like, the wickets fell at 16, 18, 60, 76, 114, 129, 139, and then obviously they made 152 for 7. No one really got away. Tilak Varma made a 50, but that 51 was off 41 balls. Pandya made 24, but that 24 was off 18 balls. So no one really played what I call a match-winning T20 innings. And if they had done, then yeah, maybe West Indies wouldn't have chased it down. But you have to, on the flip side, say, well, that's a disciplined bowling performance by the West Indies, Santokie.
Yeah, and it wasn't a traditional slow pitch at Providence. I feel like it was a decent pitch to bat on it. It was the discipline, and I was impressed with the consistency, whether it be Obed or Alzari or Killer saying, again, what we've always said, Mash, in recent times, they understood the assignment. They knew what needed to be done. And it just felt, often in West Indies white ball cricket over the years, it just felt like we've had separate bowlers doing their own thing. This time, there just seems to be a bit more of a cohesive unit with the bowling attack. And we're seeing the confidence rub off on the likes of Romario Shepherd. So I was very impressed with that. We've talked about it for a long time, how bowling has always been a weakness in our white ball game for the past 5-6 years. So now we're starting to see the signs of improvement in that area. It's very promising. And I thought overall it was good. And as you said, it was West Indies innings, we'll go into it, sort of mirrored that in terms of one player managed to get a big innings. But India, you just felt 152 did feel slightly under par in terms of, because they gave away so many wickets, and it was just it lacked discipline. I don't know whether that's just because it's team members who haven't played a lot with each other, or just again that complacency kicking in. But yeah, great performance from West Indies bowling unit. Yeah, India look a bit disorganized. So I don't know whether that's just the lack of leadership. They've got no Rohit, no Kohli. They're trying out new players, trying to gel together. But when you look at the structure of Indian cricket and how strong the domestic game is and how much IPL all these players get, like Tilak Varma, for instance, plays regularly in the IPL, does well in the IPL, so gets that experience against the world's best. There's not really any excuse for saying a second 11 Indian team can't compete or look disorganized. They really should be beating West Indies based on the quality and experience they face. Yeah,
it's interesting that on Twitter, after I did my it wasn't even, thing is, people think I'm trolling on Twitter when I when I say India are shit. but they are. but, but in the response, people are like, "Oh, but that's just our B team." And I said this on the last live or the last recorded video, whatever it was. But how much of it is a B team, though? Because if you're gonna, it's just interesting to me, Santokie, how people now suddenly want to say that's an injured B team, as if those players aren't in contention for a like that's the whole reason they're there is because they're in proper contention for a first team spot, right? And I don't want to hear people say it's an injured B team. The West Indies first team didn't make it out of the group stages at the T20 World Cup. We lost to Ireland, and we lost to Scotland. So we don't have a B team. This is all we've got. So when people are saying, "Oh, but you're only beating an injured B team," the injured B team is supposed to be better than us. So I'm not buying this kind of excuse making that I'm hearing. And I go back to Tofon's point that they look disorganized. Like, and if there's any Indian fans in the chat, explain to me what role does Axar Patel have in the Indian side? Isn't he supposed to be a bowler? Yeah. So the man came in today at, was it number 7, 4, 5? Yeah, he came in at number 7, right? I swear Axar Patel's a bowler. He bowled no overs. So is it that India are just experimenting and don't care what the results are? Or is it, as Tofon says, sorry if I got the name wrong, that they just don't really, like they're a bit discombobulated and don't really know what they're doing at this moment in time? What do you reckon, Santokie?
Yeah, it's a weird one because I thought Axar Patel was predominantly a bowler, but then I saw a man turning down signals in his like he was opening battle. So I think as we said, it might be complacency. I don't think they properly planned out this white ball leg of the tour against West Indies. They've kind of just thought, let's just go there and see what happens against weak opposition. We should be able to get the win. I think now they're 2-0 down. Panic stations are going to hit in, and we might see more organisation on their part. But I just feel, overall, Mash, it just felt like they're not a strong unit. This isn't like considering the caliber of players we're facing. It just feels like they don't really know how to work together at the moment in the white ball leg of the series or the T20 one. So it's a strange one, but, it's profiting West Indies. If we can get a series win, I mean, this is the first time we've won back-to-back T20s against India, I think, since 2016. And we played them in a lot of T20s since then. So if we can get a 3-0 lead in this series, it will be massive for the confidence of this side.
These men are saying Dravid is shit. It's deep that, boy. You... Listen, give him to us then. All right, we'll have him then. If you man don't want him, we'll take him. But and
the match, I think it was interesting because it did contrast because Rovman was very clearly, I could see him in terms of his body language and how he was when West Indies were taken to the field, had organised the side very well. And there was tactical changes he made, which were very impressive. He felt like a leader on the pitch. And so bearing in mind, we won the South Africa T20 series before Sammy took over as coach. You could argue, obviously, Rovman being captain has probably had the biggest impact on sort of galvanizing this side for the short term.
Yeah, most definitely. I say this respectfully, even on Big Jamaica 61, that the best thing for Rovman right now is to just get dropped from the ODI team and just accept that, right, I'm captain of the T20 side. I don't know if it matters if he has another good Super 50 or whatever, if that brings him back into ODI contention. But he looks completely revitalized with the leadership responsibility in T20s. And it makes me wonder, Santokie, if Rovman would play better in ODI cricket if he'd been given the captaincy. Because remember, back when Shai Hope got it, I'm not saying that's what I'm advocating, but I'm just wondering if Rovman is just someone who thrives with captaincy. We saw it one CPL with Talawars, one Super 50 with Scorpions. West Indies T20 side seems revitalized. I'm not saying Rovman is the greatest thing in West Indies cricket as a captain, but he certainly performs better with the quote unquote burden of captaincy. But let's move. So just to kind of go back over the bowling figures. Obed McCoy, 4 overs, none for 25. Obviously still working his way back into prime fitness. Akil Hussain, 4 overs, 2 for 29. Let's pause on Akil. We saw Akil do the celebration at the end. We saw him do it after each wicket as well. Why do you think he's doing it, Santokie? Is it because Marcus Rashford's one is that one?
Yeah.
So it's not the Rashford one because he's doing this. Talk to me about Akil celebrations at Dougie.
You know what? Because remember when was it against England? He did the old man on the walking stick one.
Yeah.
And I thought that meant something deeper, but apparently it was off Fortnite, the video game and stuff like this. So that I don't know. This one, if you're looking into the symbolism, I guess it's shutting out the noise, or shutting out sort of voices. But I don't know. He could just be copying the Rashford one and just got it wrong. So it's hard to know with that one. But Akil Hussain has sort of shown his quality, especially on pitches that sort of suit the spin bowling. So what do you make of it, Mash? Do you think there's a deeper meaning to what he's sort of doing with this celebration?
I mean, I'm sure he's going to say, it's another football celebration, etc. But I just suspect there was a lot of furore made about where was Akil in the ODIs.
ODI, yeah.
No one, remember, there was nothing said in the press release. No one gave an explanation as to how he's just suddenly wasn't in the side. And eventually the kind of assumption that came out was, well, he's been dropped. And I don't think it's the celebration is not a coincidence. To me, because we got to remember as well, there are a lot of people trying to say that Multi should replace him in the T20 side as well. So, but that's no bad thing for me. Because fundamentally, it's good for Akil to be under pressure. I don't think he should have been dropped from the ODI team, but I do think it's good that Multi is pressurizing him. Obviously, people say, why can't you have Multi and Akil in the same squad? But again, I say to people, that's because they will want a right arm off spinner and they'll want a left arm spinner. And I'm not saying you can't have Multi and Akil, but you're still going to need a right arm off spinner in there. And right now, Chase is winning that battle, even though he hasn't played yet. But anyways, that's Akil saying. Alzari Joseph looked better today. 4 overs, 2 for 28. They still aren't resting him. So we'll see how that goes. Holder looked like he got injured when he was batting, so maybe we won't see him in the next game. But he bowled 4 overs, none for 29. All of those bowlers, by the way, going at 7s. Romario, 3 overs, 2 for 28. He was expensive, mainly because of the kind of tap he got in the final over. But again, took 2 wickets. Crucial wickets as well. Got rid of Axar Patel when Axar was trying to set himself up. Bowled Ishan Kishan at the top as well in the first 10 overs. And then Carl Mayer's only bowled 1 over, none for 12. So as you say, Santokie, relatively disciplined performance. At the halfway stage, obviously this is West Indies we're talking about, but at the halfway stage, genuinely, did you think we're going to chase this, or did you think anything's possible because it's West Indies?
I think really, even if the total was 75, you'd think anything's possible with West Indies. But I think I was confident. I thought, if based on the first performance in the first T20, I thought it felt like an under par score, even though it was a generally decent total. So I felt like there was a good chance we could do it. However, Masha, after the first over, when we lost Brandon King first ball, taken out, and then Johnson Charles as well, I thought, this is a typical West Indies performance. So it was good to see Puran sort of lead the line, lead the resistance. But I think going into the innings, I thought, we had a good chance. After the first over, I thought we had no chance. Puran pulled it back. So as always, never a dull day being a West Indies supporter. It's a rollercoaster of emotions for me, Mash.
Let's deal with that top 3: King, Mayers, Charles. In the video after the first one, I said we just have to back King and Mayers. And I said it about the ODI side as well. We just have to back them because it is what it is. The only player outside of this squad who can realistically replace King and Mayers at the top, other than Johnson Charles himself, who's at 3, is when Evan Lewis stops building his house and finds form. then you would say that a prime Evan Lewis is better than all those 3 players, right? A prime in shape, fit, mentally where he wants to be, Evan Lewis is better than all 3 of them. Other than him, well, boy, I ain't got no one to talk about right about now, right? Does one of those 3 need to be dropped? And if so, who?
It's hard. It's a hard one, I mean, the obvious candidate would be Johnson Charles. But But then you could argue he hasn't had enough time, and I forgot he scores in the South Africa series. I'm sure he had a decent
century. He got a century, didn't he? He got
he got a century in
128 off like 60 something, and he kind of living off that. So, but we have to be mindful that was only. I mean, this is only 2 games in the T20 series. That century against South Africa was only like 3 innings ago. So because people are going to conflate what Charles did in ODI cricket with T20, but people have to remember it's 2 different formats of cricket. You can't judge Charles based on not being good enough in ODI cricket. He shouldn't have been there in the first place, right? We're talking about T20 cricket. So a lot of people are going to be like, bring Shai Hope in for Johnson Charles, or drop Mayers or King and put Charles to open, and so on and so forth. I'm just intrigued to see what you're saying.
Yeah, I think so. I looked at the score. So after that century, Charles has hit 0. He hit a first ball duck, then 3, then 2. So he's not in form. But as you said, Mash, it wasn't that long ago he scored that century. I don't feel you can drop a man that close after scoring a century in T20 cricket. And I feel the nature of T20 cricket is so volatile, it's easy to have a bad run where you put 3 or 4 low innings together. So I wouldn't drop Charles for now. I think Charles you persist with. King and Mayers is an interesting one, because like you said, Mash, more so because of the lack of alternatives. And I feel Evan Lewis isn't even a ready-made answer. Like you said, there has to be a lot of factors. Mentally, he has to be in the right space, his physical fitness, sort of what that desire, as well as putting together the talent he has. Because we saw when he came back for the World Cup last year, he didn't have the impact we would have hoped. So there's a lot of scenarios that need to happen for Evan Lewis to get back to his best firstly, and then come back into the West Indies side. So for that reason, Mash, you've got to persist with that top 3. At least for this series and probably the England series later this year, and then go from there.
People saying bring Shai Hope into the side.
No, come on, man. Listen,
I want to know what people are basing that on, other than the fact his name is Shai Hope. What's the T20 justification we're using? Because other than his Shai Hope and his Shai Hope, because no, I'm being serious, Santokie. What's the justification?
There's none. This is, unless this Desmond Haynes has got into people's head about him being a multi-format player. Hope, in all openers in T20 cricket have got to be guys who can go at 130, 140 strike rate. Hope doesn't suit that. He hasn't got the back catalogue of recent games. I know he's played occasional PSL, BPL games, but he hasn't got that repertoire of any sort of proof of work that justifies him getting selected. And he just wouldn't fit the team, and particularly as an opener, he wouldn't fit the team. So I don't know why, other than, like you said, Mash, the fact he's Shai Hope, he's doing excellent in ODI cricket, people are just assuming he can translate that into T20 cricket, because generally, in most countries, if a player is good at ODI cricket, usually they're pretty good at T20 cricket. They manage to merge the two. Shai Hope's unusual in that he specialises in 50-over cricket, but he's never been able to translate that into T20 cricket. So I wouldn't put Shai Hope in the T20 side, but I can see why, because whether it be Test cricket or T20 cricket, the first name people call for a recall is Shai Hope. So.
Right, check this out. Watch this now. Watch how I finish everybody in the chat. Anybody who's in the chat right now, give me a quick answer as to why Shai Hope should come into the T20 side. Just a quick answer, okay? I'm going to put all the different answers up. Why should Shai Hope come into the T20 side? Give me a 1-sentence answer, please. 007 says because Hope can play the anchor role. Okay, cool. I'm still waiting for answers, people. Give me a clear, distinguishable, evidence-based answer for why he should be there. Or if it's not evidence-based, give me an emotional answer. Right. Nutty says stability. Supernova says play and spin and rotation in middle overs. TD says as an anchor. Javid says he can play spin. Errol says he puts a value on his wicket. Giron, sorry if I've got it wrong, says run production. Bobby says anchor. Any others? Al says he can bat spin. Fly Island guy says stabilize in the top middle order. Is there any more? Anchor roll, says MV. Is there any others? West Indian says Hope's a proper batter. Better player or spin? Okay. Okay, so Santokie, see them all. Now check this, Santokie. Now check this. Why is it that when I say Puran should play Test cricket, everyone says no. So, why is it then that when we say why should Hope play T20s, bare answers people are giving me. But when I say Puran should play Test cricket, no one wants to support my motive on that. Tell me why, Santokie. Tell me how the justification doesn't work the other way then.
The double standards is mad, and I don't know why. I just, you know what, Mash? I just feel this all links back to that twin century at Headingley, you know? It just forever cemented Shai Hope as a quote-unquote classy batsman, the future of West Indies cricket. And people are sort of, any gap that needs to be filled is sort of Shai Hope becomes the name. But I just feel we don't desperately need an anchor. I take it on that he plays spin, but Shimron Hetmyer can play spin as well. There's loads of players in West Indies side who can play spin. I just think as an anchor role, one, he's not, like I said, he's not proven himself in T20 cricket to justify that. And two, do we really need an anchor role in this lineup? I don't think so. If I was, I mean, it'd be interesting. This is another dilemma with West Indians who don't get the chance to play CPL. I think Alec Afanase could suit that role in T20 cricket, but he's never played a T20 game because he doesn't get CPL deals. So there's no real sort of, I don't see the need for a Shai Hope / anchor role, even though I don't really like the term anchor in T20 cricket. I just don't see the need for it to fit the team. But as always, there seems to be a mass desire for Shai Hope to come back into the side.
If in doubt, call Shai Hope to come play. So you lot are saying drop one of them, and Shai Hope should replace Charles or whichever one you love got. Okay, cool. Well, let's move on. So, anyways, Puran came into it was 2 for 2. Puran, we must remember that Puran actually he escaped a Nigel Duguid teeth out. Everyone forgets that Nigel Duguid is actually the biggest teeth out merchant. He's actually bigger than Joe Wilson, but because we don't see Duguid on the international stage that often, people forget. Duguid always likes to teeth out and then bust a big smile when he's teeth someone out, as if he's certain he's got the right decision. Big up Nigel Duguid, the proper king of the teeth out. But anyways, Puran reviewed it and kind of, well, I can't say good fortune because it wasn't out, but he slayed the Indians. Santokie, 67 of 40 balls. He's clearly, I don't want to say in the form of his life, but clearly having come off the back of that 100, that sparkling 100 he hit in the Major League Cricket final. Puran is clearly in very, very good form, and it's showing for the West Indies as well. Him and Powell put together a partnership of 61. They put together a partnership of, no, not 61, sorry, I can't do my maths properly. They put a partnership of 57, and that really kind of set the game up, to be fair, Santokie. I know obviously the collapse came later, but when Powell fell, it was 89 for 4 after 10 overs, and you kind of knew at that stage only a West Indian collapse can make them lose this game. And of course, they then showed us that they had that in their locker. But what did you make of the Puran innings in general?
Yeah, I thought it was brilliant. I thought when we lost 3 early wickets, it would have been easy for the next batters coming in to go into a shell and kind of play defensively. Puran really took it. I think his second or third ball, he smashed it for a 6th. And then he continued to rotate strike, found the boundaries in all different gaps across the field, which is something King didn't do when he played his first ball. He hit it straight to the fielder. So I felt that awareness of how to play the situation worked well with Powell. And like you said, once Powell had gone, the match was already in West Indies' control. Once Puran had gone, I think we only needed about 30 or less than 30 to win, and we had wickets in hand. So Puran essentially wrestled the match into West Indian hands, and I feel like it was an excellent innings. And as you rightly said, Mash, it's a sign of a player who's very, very confident at the moment, arguably probably top 5 informed batters in T20 cricket across the world at the moment, Nicholas Pooran. So we're lucky to have him in the West Indies side, and hopefully he can continue sort of his rich run of form. Obviously, not being captain anymore has obviously taken a burden off his shoulders as well. And whereas we talked about Powell Rovman 5 under captaincy, Puran, just for whatever reasons, the captaincy provided a burden. So you can see how sort of captaincy affects different players. But, you know, Puran seems to be in the right space at the moment. And as I said, very, very well as he's now a senior player in this side. And so leading from that point of view as well.
One thing that's quite interesting for Powell is since Powell got the T20 captaincy, and obviously we can say good results, but I'm yet to really hear anyone cuss him out. He must be the first West Indian captain. Hope's not really... No, because Hope got the World Cup cuss out. But Powell's the first West Indian captain in a long time where I can't really find anyone cussing him and saying he made poor decision and he done this and he done that and so on and so forth. There seems to be a unanimous kind of feeling at the moment in the Caribbean that Powell is definitely the right person to be captain in the T20 side, and people must be the first captain in a while where no one's coming for the neck of the captain at all. But big up Rovman, Jamaica.
I see a lot of comments as well saying it's blasphemous for me as a guy in the Amazon Warrior fan to cuss out Shai Hope. But we didn't win CPL. I don't understand. Like, there was I don't even remember. I think he scored the 16 and a 30 in the qualifiers and eliminators. But there's not really, I don't really have any allegiance to Shai Hope just because he plays for the Amazon Warrior. You just got to call it as you see it.
Supernova says, what's there to cuss about Rovman? But Supernova, when we won series under Pollard was still getting cussed out. So that's why I'm saying it. When we beat England 3-2 last year in the T20 series, people were still cussing Pollard out, saying that he's no good and this, that. So that's what I'm saying. I've seen West Indies captains win and still get a big cuss. Powell's the first captain in a long while.
Mash, this also shows the power of sort of the media, because obviously Pollard was part of the group of players, you know, who were tarnished by the West Indies Cricket Board at the time, led by David Cameron, as being a mercenary in local media. And I felt in global media as well, there's this idea of Pollard being a mercenary, whereas Rovman Powell, there's a different perspective. In terms of his global presentation, he's presented as someone, you know, who came from very, very humble beginnings in poverty in Jamaica and has made it to this stage. So I just feel the representation in the media of the two captains are very different as well, which makes people less likely to cuss out of Rovman.
There's 323 of you in the live right now, which may be a world record for the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. I don't know. It feels like it is. I hope when I go to look at the likes, I see 325 likes.
Oh, yeah. Come on, guys.
Like the podcast, share, subscribe, all of that. But big up everyone who is in the live. You know how we do on the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. No one else does it like us.
Listen, now we got no sponsors as well, you know. Doing this independent. You see when Machel's throwing them cusses at India, the BCCI, yeah. This is why we don't have a sponsorship. So we're still out here independent, you know.
No Indian company is ever gonna sponsor us. But yeah. So Puran fell 126 for 5. As you said, Santokie, we needed 27 at that point. 5 wickets remaining. It should have been a cakewalk. It wasn't. Hetmyer was there with Puran. This was Hetmyer's highest score since returning from West Indies exile. But 22 off 22. It wasn't fluent. It wasn't bad. It wasn't good either. Do you... Because I know that people are going to say I'm coming for Hetmyer. I'm not, actually. But today's innings made me think Hetmyer's rusty. He's proper rusty out there. And it just goes back to the point I raised, I think, in previous videos, that after IPL, I don't actually think Hetmyer's played much cricket. I think he's gone home to Guyana. He came out of Guyana retirement to go play some Major League cricket for Seattle and then headed to West Indies duty. Hetmyer just looks like do you get what I'm saying, Santokie? He just looks like he's going to need a real long run to find his true form in any form of cricket for the West Indies.
Yeah, definitely out. He's definitely out of form. This isn't the Hetmyer we know. As you said, Mash, today it wasn't a bad innings, but it wasn't an innings you needed from Hetmyer, coming in later down the order with a game to finish. So I feel you will need to give him a run of games. And I just feel with Hetmyer, it would be naive of West Indies to sort of drop him at the moment. I don't think that's even in question. You just got to give him that run of games and hope that he realizes his potential and gets his form back. But as you said on an earlier episode, one of the few lives, Mash, the real test will be after this India series, which is sort of the glamour tie in terms of eyes on the series. Hetmyer's commitment to playing future series. Like, for instance, will he step up against, if we play Nepal in September or October or whatever, will he be in that series? So it also relies on how it works two ways. Hetmyer's commitment to West Indies as well.
So Drew says the strike rate doesn't tell the whole story. So Hetty was 22 of 22. He said Hetty was 20 off 12 at one point, which is true. But then he blocked all the balls so that Romario wouldn't have to play spin, which is also true. But then he ran Romario out anyway. So, so I don't know, Drew. Because he ran Romario out, and it was Hetty's fault, he ran him out. All of that's got to come into the kind of synopsis and analysis of the innings. But anyways, more power to
You know how
Hetmyer.
mad that is, though, that he ran Romario out in front of a home crowd, you know?
Listen. More power to Hetmyer. At the end of the day, again, for clarity, if people don't know where I stand on it, both Santokie and myself were calling for Hetmyer to be in the squad long before Hetmyer returned to the squad. We were saying just call him up for the World Cup. And this is after I said I was done with him. I was saying call him up. So we understand that Hetty's going to need time to find his true form. But just to echo what Santokie said, but part of that time comes the next time West Indies play limited overs cricket. Will Hetty even be there? And if he's not there, it's like snakes and ladders. He back down the snake again, right back to square one, and we're right back in the same situation. So my thing is, let's judge it by the time we play Afghanistan in September. Will Hetty be there or will Hetty not be there? And then we'll really know where we're actually at. Anyway, so Shepherd got run out. So the 16th over Santokie. Shepherd got run out by Hetmyer. Holder got stumped by Ishan Kishan. And then Hetmyer played back to one and was LBW to Chahal. So in the 16th over, we went from 128 for 5 to 129 for 8. Meaning that we needed at that time 23 runs with 4 overs remaining and Akil Hussain, Alzari Joseph and Obed McCoy to come. Be honest, Santokie, did you think they'd see it over the line at that stage?
It was 50-50, Mash, because obviously Obed's not known for batting, so it was essentially down to Akil and Joseph. We know what they can both do with the bat, but they've been inconsistent. We haven't really seen it from them in recent times. So for me, it was 50-50, honestly, if I'm honest. 50-50 whether they've done it. But I was really glad to see Hussain and Joseph work together and do what we know they can do with the bat. We need that depth lower down the order. So it was good to see. But like I said, Mash, this year, all my life supporting West Indies cricket has taught me never to take anything for granted. So when it was down to those two, I was thinking India might claw it back here. But no, I was glad to see Akil also do something with the bat as well.
Yeah, and Bish made a comment on comms that Akil Hussain was batting number 11 in the World Cup qualifiers. A year ago, Akil Hussain was coming in at like number 7, number 8 for the West Indies. So I agree with Bish that it was weird in the World Cup qualifiers to see them relegate him down to 11. I'm not saying Akil Hussain is an all-rounder, but he can definitely hold a bat, and we've seen that in previous innings for the West Indies. So, and do you know what? Here's another way of looking at it, Santokie. Akil Hussain and Alzari Joseph can both bat. As in, they actually can both bat. Alzari makes me angry because I think in the last 6 months to maybe 8 months or so, he's given away his wicket needlessly, going for, like, man will come in, face 3 balls, then decide he's going to hit a 6. And I'm like, no, but you're better than that, Alzari. This is a guy who's got a test, 80 against New Zealand? I think he's got 2 test 50s or whatever it might be. Alzari can actually bat properly, and he just, sometimes I feel like he chooses to cowlash and not actually play the situation. Akil, we know, can definitely bat properly. And what I'd like to see, and it's similar to the point I made about Fielding in the first match, and it's also true for the second match, in fairness, Mayers with his run out, etc. There are certain things that we shouldn't be compromising on as a West Indian fan base and Darren Sammy and his backroom staff. One, the fielding should be elite, because that's the one thing where money doesn't matter and resources. The fielding should be elite, and 2, everyone should be able to bat properly. Doesn't mean you'll always make runs, but everyone should be able to bat properly and hold a bat other than maybe the number 11, depending on who's batting there. And if Akil Hussain and Alzari Joseph, we know they can bat, then bat situations. It shouldn't be a situation where we get into T20s or ODIs and we look at Akil and Alzari come in and go, well, boy, game's over. We should expect that they can see these type of situations out because they have the ability to bat properly. So this was just another little green shoot for me and another little tick that says, okay, you men know how to play sensibly in situations and not lose your heads. Let that be your fundamentals. Let that be your foundation going forward. What do you reckon, Santokie?
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree. And also, it's telling that Bischoff obviously talked about Hussain because he'll know more than others. Hussain, I think, hit a first-class century for Trinidad and Tobago It was a few years ago, but he did it. So we know Hussein can bat. So the fact he did play at 11 in the qualifiers and that sort of lack of trust in his batting, it's good to see sort of the steps towards regaining that form. And yeah, I completely echo what you say, Mash. I think it's promising to see that and them giving the trust as well to sort of perform with the bat. So we need that depth, especially in a World Cup, because most likely there will be a situation in the World Cup where it will come down to, 9, 10, 11 to sort of put up some runs to finish off a chase. So it's good that we're sort of seeing Akil Hussein and Joseph performing those roles.
Just in case people thought I missed it, thank you to Gyron Rose for the super chat. Big up, Gyron. I'm not seeing you on the chat before, Gyron, so thank you for coming in. Big up you, and thank you for the kind donation. And also Brian H. He says, so are we going to talk? Oh, well, we just did. Are we going to talk about how beautiful it was to see Hussein and Joseph step up with the bat the way they did? Thank you for that super chat as well, Brian. Hopefully that last little segment that Santokie and I did covered that particular topic in terms of Hussein and Joseph. So Santokie, last little bit then before we lock this one off. Where was I going to go? Oh yeah. So the third T20. When is it? Is it on Tuesday? I don't know. I ain't got my diary.
Tuesday, and then the Florida ones are next weekend.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. So the third T20 back in Guyana again. We said after the first one, we thought it'd be the same team. What do you do, Santokie? See, a series win is not on the line, but we could make it like safe. Rarely do we get a situation in West Indies where we can just go, it's safe if we just win this next one and we can afford to experiment in the next 2 games. Based on that, do you go same team? The pitch in Guyana did not heavily favour spin. Or, I mean, Akil bowled well on it. Chahal bowled well. Bishnoi bowled well. But it wasn't what you would have expected the Providence pitch to play like. There was something in there for the Pacers. Do you bring in a Roston Chase just so you have another spin option? Obviously, some people in the chat want Hope to come in for Charles. Or do you just go same team, Santokie, and say, go get the job done?
Yeah, it has to be same team, Mash. Go get the job done. Take the 3-0 up. And then, that gives us the luxury. Last 2 T20s, you can bring in Hope, O'Shane Thomas, Roston Chase. But I feel for this clutch game where we want to wrap out the series, you go with the same 11, barring there's no fitness concerns or anything like that. As long as everyone's fit, if Azari says, listen, I can bowl the 4 overs, then on Tuesday, then you go with that same 11. What about you, Mash?
Yeah, do you know, I was about to say that, and then Drew's just reminded me that Holder, there was some kind of injury. Something happened to Holder in that dismissal, and it wouldn't surprise me if we find out that, boys, we're not going to use, we can't use Holder. If that was the case, well, boy, don't know who you replace Holder with. You can't bring in Oldene Smith for Jason Holder. I mean, you can, but is Oldene Smith going to offer you the control you want? So they may have a decision to make about Holder and who's the best option to replace Holder. Sherwin says he wants Chase and Holder to go away, but I mean, but I don't know. That's an interesting one. I'll have to think about that one, people, and come back to you on the Holder one. I don't want to miss Sumit's super chat. Sumit says 2-0 is a big deal. I agree. And honestly, who is India actually missing? Now, Sumit, I'm sure Indian fans will say, well, Virat and Rohit. But maybe India are in transition, though. I mean, Rohit's 36. Virat is what, 35, 34?
Yeah, 34.
So there's also this kind of aspect of, are they like, this may well be the right thing for India to do, to not play them, because those two can't play forever. They'll probably, to be fair, Santokie, they may retire after that World Cup next year in terms of
I'd expect them to. I would expect it to be this one.
So India are probably doing the right thing by not playing them here. They got to look to the future. It's not every day Virat and Rohit, It's not every day.
And Mash, if you put up the comment from Ronaldo McGarrell, he's put something interesting.
Where is it? Here we go. Yeah.
Hey, Mash, I was at Providence today and I saw O'Shane bowl after the match. He seems to be struggling, not 100% for sure, which sort of echoes what you hinted at earlier on one of our live shows, that O'Shane Thomas isn't actually ready to play any cricket at the moment.
Yeah. So as I said when he was part of the ODI squad, for anybody who's new in the live and hasn't come across the Caribbean Cricket Podcast before, or maybe you haven't seen some of our recent videos, I asked Desmond Haynes about O'Shane Thomas, and Des said that O'Shane had reached out to Cricket West Indies, said he really wanted to play for West Indies again, blah, 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 blah. They gave him a fitness plan to follow. He's been playing club cricket in England. But long story short, O'Shane has been called up to the squad to get him. This is my synopsis of it. O'Shane Thomas has been called up to the white ball squads to get him close to the squads and do some intensive work with the West Indies cricket team and backroom staff. But you have to understand that the context is that O'Shane hasn't played any first-class domestic or kind of national level cricket anywhere for a long time. So he's come straight from club cricket, with respect to club cricket in England, straight to international cricket. He's not ready. He's not ready out here. And what my only critique is that they shouldn't have named him in the squad. I think they should have just announced or said in the press release, O'Shane is with us so that we can work with him. So Ronaldo, it doesn't surprise me that you're saying, boy, he don't look like he's 100%. I'm not sure we'll see. I'm not sure we'll see him in this series. Maybe if we win the series, we may see him get a one game, but we shall see.
Anyway, Mash, I think to wrap up our final talking point with the side winning in South Africa and 2-0 up against India, do you see a place in this side should Andre Russell become available at some point in time, or is his time done at this point? Do you not sort of mess with a formula that's working? Obviously, he's come out in the press recently and said he's willing to commit and play for West Indies. We haven't seen him named for this India tour, but there's a few big England tour coming up at the end of the year. Is there a place in 2023-24 for Andre Russell to make his way back into the side, do you think?
The only person who can answer that is Darren Sammy. So what I promised to do for everyone who's in this live chat with us today is the next press conference that Darren Sammy holds, I will put that question to him. Narayan, I think, is done out here, Santokie. I'm not wasting my time about Narayan. We're never asking about Narayan ever again. But Russell, there is going to continue to be an argument about Russell. So I'm just going to ask Sammy outright, what is the situation with Russell? Is he in your thoughts? Have you had a conversation with Andre Russell? Would you consider him? Straight yes or no? Forget you lot, the fans. I'm just going to ask Sammy and see what Darren Sammy says. I think it was up. If it was up to Desmond Haynes, Santokie would never see Russell again.
Yeah,
because
I don't think
otherwise he would have been picked already. So it's a question to put to Sammy.
Yeah, and I think especially because of their relationship as players, Sammy and Russell, be interesting to see what Sammy says, because obviously you'd imagine he'd have improved communications with J. Russ compared to Desmond Haynes. Machel, ask Sammy any plans on getting Cornwall in the white ball side. That'd be an interesting one.
No chance, Santokie. None. No. Cornwall, obviously, he may well have a good CPL with Barbados. Is he with Barbados Royals? I think he's with Barbados Royals. He may well have a good CPL, and Cornwall is a destructive opener. But come on, he can't though, because no West Indian fan is going to accept Cornwall being in the T20 side and fielding at slip all day, even if he's a good option to have. But then again, you lot are saying that Hetty's fit, so Cornwall's fit as well, then, isn't it? So maybe.
And also, Cornwall. Sammy will know, because Sammy played with him and coached with him at the St. Lucia Kings for a while, like 2019, 2020, 2021. So he'll know Cornwall well. So if he's not picked, he's not picked. There's obviously reasons that Sammy sees. And the final player, I guess, would be Shafane Rutherford. We saw in the Canada qualifier yesterday. They had 1 wicket left. They needed like 19 to win. He hit 3 sixes in a row to take them over the line. It was an assured innings. Obviously, the Canada T20 is not the same quality as international cricket, but it sort of just put a reminder that Rutherford is out there. It's interesting with Rutherford because there's not really been a campaign on his part or his camp to sort of talk about getting back into the West Indies. He hasn't actually played since the pandemic. I think his last West Indies outing was against Ireland just before the pandemic, beginning of 2020. So it's interesting, where there's always been a lot of talk about Dre Ross, Narayan, all these players coming into the side. Rutherford sort of he's just played every franchise tournament possible, IPL, PSL, Canada, and he's never really talked about in terms of West Indies selection. But you'd imagine if he was available, surely Sammy would call him up to give him a chance. If they're calling up O'Shane Thomas to be part of squads, surely Rutherford would be in Sammy's plans. That's a very good point you make there. Once you call up someone like O'Shane Thomas and set the kind of
you kind of set the premise that you can come out of the wilderness back into the West Indies team, then anybody can come out of the wilderness. Yeah. So I ain't even gonna talk down Sherfane Rutherford or anything. Oh, hold on. Driv just said this. Sherfane Rutherford was at it again today. 40 needed of 3 overs, and him and Russell chased it down. Rutherford got man of the match in the final as well as man of the tournament. So like I say, there's no point in anyone saying no to Rutherford because apparently anyone can come out of the wilderness. But the key thing, like you say, Santokie, is you never hear anything about Rutherford saying, I really want to play for West Indies. It's like he don't exist. And yet it's bizarre. He's 25 years old. He's exceptionally talented. It's like he don't even exist in West Indies cricket. So who knows with regards to Sherfane Rutherford. But remember, people, CPL is this month, not even next month, later this month. Anything could happen. Anybody's name could suddenly come into consideration based off what happens in CPL. But Santokie, we've been going 50 minutes, man. Should we wrap this one?
Yeah. I think it's been a victorious day. As we said, record amounts tuning in for the live, so everyone's come to share the positivity, hear us. You know what, Mash? Two back-to-back episodes, talking about wins. Has that even been done before?
That's a good point. That's a good point. And we're relaxed, like that's normal.
Like, this might not happen again for another 5 years.
It's because we know that we could be going on a 12-match run of L's straight after this. So.
Also, yes, TD mentions also Fabian Allen. He's played in the Canada T20 as well. So Fabian Allen, obviously, we know what he can do. He's had some personal issues, a lot going on. So it'd be good to see Fabian Allen just because of the role he provides, sort of that 3-dimensional role. So, there's a lot of talking points, but for now, we're focused on the current West Indies team against India. 2-0 up. It's all about taking that 3-0 win on Tuesday, Mash.
Yeah, for real. Sci-Fig Tut says, can we see the video of Oldine and Sammy? I'll try and upload it to our Twitter account before I go to bed, so look out for that if I can be bothered. Remind me on Twitter if I don't do it. But as Santokie says, thank you everyone for tuning in. Like I say, 356 of you right now. I think that's a record. I can't remember. That should mean that when I look at the live numbers tomorrow, it should be a massive amount of you who tuned in for this. So thank you very much. On your way out, if you haven't already done so, like the video, share the video. Subscribe to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. You can find us Twitter, Instagram at Carib Cricket, website www.caribbeancricketpodcast.com. We're on all podcast handles, Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to your podcast, etc. Just search Caribbean Cricket Podcast, Facebook, Caribbean Cricket Podcast. And if you want to become a patron and support the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, www.patreon.com/Carib Cricket. Thank you very much, everyone. Much appreciated. We'll be back on Tuesday after the third T20 to celebrate the West Indies series win. We've been the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. Thank you and good night. We rule the cricket world. Now the rule seems coming. Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans.